Ladies and gentlemen, the schedule is a little bit messed up, but that is not going to stop us. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Amon, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Simrigs Sprint Series. It's round 4 at Monza. You're thinking, hey, we just had round 5 at Silverstone. Well, like I said, we had some scheduling issues and whatnot. We had to move things around. We had server issues, not last week, but the week prior, so we had to reschedule this race. But we're going to be getting right back on track after this. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Simon Bauer will not be joining us here tonight. He's currently at the Sim Racing Expo. So for him, Simon, enjoy your little break. He told me that he has an interview he's going to be doing. So hopefully we do get to see that at some point. I'm sure there's going to be some clip floating around out there of him speaking his mind. And, well, I'm waiting eagerly for that, so it will just be me here tonight. Now, the server does say that it's a 90-minute race, but that is actually incorrect. It's going to be a 30-minute race, or sorry, not 30, a 60-minute race. 30-minute race would be a little slow. But, yeah, we had to kind of reset the server. I'm sure you guys saw that. Got some things sorted out, though, so we should be good to go here in just a little while. Drivers out on track right now, just doing some practice laps. We should be getting pushed into qualifying soon enough. I don't think there are any more issues in regards to the time. Looks like we are gonna reboot the server with 10 minutes to go in FP. Unless that is from about 10 minutes ago. So I don't think that is going to be the current call, but whatever, we race. Doesn't matter. We we get out there, we do what we gotta do. So drivers out on track mostly, and I think the server just died again. Yep. All right. Yeah, there you go. Lost connection, so it should be reset. So we'll give it one more shot, and we'll see if we can get things sorted out. But while I get myself sorted out, ladies and gentlemen, a quick shout out and a quick thank you, of course, to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. If you're looking to get your rig upgraded a little bit, Simrigs has got you covered, servicing all of Australia and New Zealand. So, you know, you got your prices and everything. If you're a Patreon member, you get 5% off your purchase. I would advise you to use that. Yeah, sim racing equipment, not very cheap except for the entry-level stuff, but even for some that might be a little bit expensive. And if you're like me and you live outside of those lovely little borders, well, if you send them an email, they'll be more than happy to work something out and get you sorted out. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. Pop back over. Still waiting for the server to get back up and running. I'm just going to sit here and refresh. How is everybody doing this evening? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Glad you're joining us here for tonight's broadcast. We've got one more today. That's going to be the endurance, or I guess the mini endurance race for North America at Silverstone. So that'll be exciting. And looks like we're still at 90. This will be very, very scary if it is a full 90-minute race. Oh, but we rocking and we rolling with it. I think I just lost connection again, possibly. Yeah, still looking at an hour and a half. So some server difficulties. But what can you do? So just work with what we got. Hopefully we get a race here tonight, because it'll be a little bit disappointing if we have to miss another week. I'm sure the server crew is getting their tools out, trying to get that sorted. I should also make a quick mention. I didn't realize this, but we are going to be having the Kyalami 9-hour this weekend. So for a lot of us here, North America and some parts of Europe, we are going to be having that on what is going to be this Friday. And then if you're in Australia, you're going to be looking at a Saturday race start, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So that'll be exciting. I will most likely be there for that, and I don't know who else is going to be there. Things have not been finalized, but for those of you that are going to be competing, best of luck in that. And if you're, well, going to be someone like me in the booth, hey, I'm ready for some more action. And if you're a viewer, make sure you check it out. We'll be sending out notifications when that goes live, so don't you worry. I remember the first time I did an endurance event like that. It was the same race, 9 hours of Kyalami in the Bentley. It was a lot of fun. Not a lot of action for us, plus or minus a couple of interesting moments. But still, it was a lot of fun. Just, you know, you kind of get into that rhythm and you start just banging out those laps, and then you take a look at the time and you think, man, I must have been racing for hours. It seems like just, so much effort, so many minutes and seconds gone, and it's only been about 45 minutes, and you realize you have another 7.5 hours to go. But it is quite a lot of fun, and we've been changed. There it is, 60 minutes on the clock, so we can get this rocking and rolling. Shout outs to those lovely folks down in the server room, making it possible there as everybody's joining in. They are ready to go. So I'm not certain if we're going to jump right into qualifying. I would not be too surprised, though. We'll have to wait and see what the call is. But everybody's getting into the server. Start with a bit of a delay. You know what? More, it's absolutely fine. I know how tough it is down there in the trenches of the OOR offices, so do what you got to do. But that does give us some time here to talk about last week's results. So again, we were at Silverstone last week for the mini endurance race, which was an hour and a half. We had only one race last week. It was Thanksgiving here in the States, so for me it was do some broadcast work and then immediately go and eat. And let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. It was a really good holiday. Hopefully those of you that do celebrate it had a good one as well. Good food, good friends, good family, all that fun stuff. But this week we are back with 2 races here that I get to hold the reins for. It's a very troublesome race last week we had at Silverstone. Of course, it was going to be rainy because, again, it is England, so, I mean, what weather do they have besides cold and wet? It was a little bit of an on and off almost. It was off for, I believe, the start of the race, then the rain came in, and then it tapered away at the end. The track wasn't dry enough for it to really be too much of a damaging run on the tires. But, yeah, no, it was still a very, very good race. Rumbouts came out on top. Hearn and Felgen, the podium sitters for that race. And then in the Pro-Am category, it was actually Ippolito up on top here. I think he is in the server. Yeah, back in the Mercedes. Phillips, or no, sorry, not Phillips. Ippolito, Tully, and Zinaker, Andreas Zinaker. He made it onto the Pro-Am podium as we get here into qualifying. So we are going to be hot and ready to go, and it's Rumbouts, last week's winner, out on track first, so he'll be setting the baseline once these flying laps come through. But for the amateur class drivers, it was Shop, Phillips, and Starkey, your top 3, and then the unrated drivers, it was Huneveld, Niedzelski, and Hansen. Huneveld, of course, not going to be making it here tonight, unfortunately. But he is watching, I know, and I have chat open, I can see it. So I'm sure he's just giving someone else a chance to win. You know how he is. What a great guy. Absolute stand-up character here in the OOR. But we do have Friel, who I believe is a new addition to the Sprint Series, if memory serves, although I could be wrong. I have not seen that name up there. Of course, Niedzelski is here, and Hansen. All 3 of these drivers are yet to be rated, so we will take a peek at that after. I believe, if I am correct, I think we have a bye week, I believe. Now, if we do, that kind of gets things a little bit tricky, because I think we should have been getting ready to wrap up the season here, I believe next week or the week after. But because of the server issues we had with EU for this race a couple weeks ago, and then having only one race for last week because of Thanksgiving, that does mess things up a bit. So by my best calculations, and keep in mind I'm a communications major, so I'm terrible at math, we're looking at, I think, a December 23rd final race, or December 22nd, whatever that Thursday is. We're cutting it very, very close to Christmas. I don't know what everyone's plans are for Christmas. I'm going to be here, of course, in my house, as is tradition, minus a couple of years. But For the drivers, I'm not too certain. We'll have to see how that all plays out. Huneveld, best of luck to all drivers, especially to Hansen, Epic. Well, Martin Hansen right now in the hot pink McLaren, rounding the final corner here, getting ready to start his flying lap. But all eyes right now on Rumbouts for Pack Racing Club. I gotta say, it's such a great livery on that Honda. I mean, it just looks beautiful. It's so well made. You know, there's no power-up pellets, unfortunately, but I'm sure those are all put under the hood with the VTEC. I'm sure they probably managed to put that in there somehow. But always some really good liveries. I said it once, and I'll say it 1,000,001 more times. The liveries we have for this season, the decision to actually allow custom liveries instead of just what the OOR makes or what is provided by the game, I think was actually a very smart decision. We've had some beautiful, beautiful looking colors and beautiful designs on these cars. Very creative as well. This car right here being one of them. And I'm sure we'll carry that on. It's always fun when I get an update from Glenn. He just says, hey man, got some more skins for you. Throw them in. And, well, from there you're pretty much all set. But Rumbouts here at the final corner, so we'll see where he sits. We're looking at what's going to be a 1 minute 49.467. So that is going to be the benchmark that everybody has to do better than. Charles Phillips out of Croatia here, making a 53.09. Don't know how long that's going to hold for, as right now Niedzelski goes P2 with a 52.50. Chris Vining out on a, looks like he had a bit of a scuffed lap, out a little bit late, so he's quite a ways behind. Shop here, P9 at the moment, will cross the line, makes it a 52.787, and that gets bumped down to a P7 as he gets runged around by Klarenberg and Zineker as well. Lucas here setting a faster time, a 151 dead. His brother yet to set a lap. We'll actually go check in on him right now. Andreas in the green BMW. And yes, these two are brothers, as I've probably guessed. I mean, I don't know how common that last name is in Germany, but I don't think you see too many people with those names running around. So the brother here right now down the back straight. We'll see where he sets up. Now, Monza, of course, a track that I think we're all very familiar with. I'm sure we've had plenty of, you know, experiences here. And Zineker having a very good experience out of the exit. Crosses the line. It's a 51.25, and it's right behind his brother, quarter of a second back. So not quite close enough to overtake, but of course, these tires, brakes just getting warmed up. Now, I have high hopes for EU. We did this race here for North America, and we didn't even make it to the first corner. We got, let's see where Phillips is. We got to, I think, right about here. And that's when it all kicked off. Some driver overestimated how close somebody was, got on the brakes a little too hard, unsettled their car, turned to the side, and it all kind of just piled up. So normally we get, you know, some turn 1 carnage. We didn't even make it to turn 1. So for the EU drivers, you have one goal. And that one goal is to make it to turn 1. That's it. That's all you have to do at this point. Make it to turn 1, and you're good to go. That's it. All you have to do. We'll see what happens. Frail right now, P11 crosses the line and put down to P12 despite the improvement. We have Vining currently getting ready to set a lap. Cuthbert, Starkey, Sack, Ippolito, Hansen, Missoria just joining us. He'll be setting a lap here, but it's still Rumbouts on top right now, a 49.06, so he's been improving right now. While we've been focusing on other drivers, half a second up, almost 6/10 actually to Hearn. Hearn is sitting there with a 49.61 and is on a bit of an improvement right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. Andreas Zineker here still behind the brother, quarter of a second, actually a little bit more now, as he crosses the line up to P7, completely vaults on over and takes Cairns and Starkey with him. Ippolito into P3. Dombrowskis makes it P4 right now. 150.19 for him on an improvement. Matty Sack as well improving at the moment. Couple of tenths for these guys as they get ready to square away yet another lap. Dombrowskis still a very cool looking livery on that McLaren. Huge fan of that one. Of course, nothing will ever top the, I believe it's Cuthbert's throwback liveries. Beautiful stuff. Dombrowskis up to P3, stays there. So it's a 50.01. Slight improvement. We check around the grid. Ivan Cairns right now. Out of Parabolica. A 50.68 for him so far. If he gets this 3/10 put together, that's going to put him a good ways up into P8. Still 6.5 to go here, so nothing set in stone quite yet. Seeing who else. Ippolito on a flying lap. 2/10 down, so will not improve, unfortunately. The safety car chilling in pits. Hansen is out on track, trying to get some good times put in. Same with Missouri, actually starting an out lap here. So by the time he gets back around, he'll have another, or he'll start his first flying lap. And we'll see just what he can do once he gets that Audi put together. Rumbouts here on a slight improvement again. It's just a 10th right now. Still sitting up top. 0.36 down to Hearn, who's back in the pits, probably making some adjustments. Cuthbert up into P3, pushing Dombrowskis and Ippolito down a bit. And as I say that, Hansen puts a banging lap in, a 49.8, enough for a P4. For a guy who's just been put into the scene, that's a damn fine time. 48.89 there for Rumbouts. Another flying lap for him, another chance to improve. Charles Phillips, P15, will unfortunately say P15. Was on an improvement, but it looks like he went wide, so that lap does not count. Lucas Zenaker down to P13 after getting vaulted by his brother. Only has one car between him, and he's going to go right back above a 50.65. That is enough. That's 0.145 between him, or sorry. Yeah, 145. I can't do math. So the brothers fighting for position right now. It's Lucas, though, sitting P11. Andreas down in P12. Andreas actually just behind there. Maybe trying to get a bit of an advantage with the toe. Now, the toe here is very powerful at Monza because, I mean, realistically, it's just two straights connected by some right turns. It's like a NASCAR track, except, you know, it's not an oval. But yeah, the toe here very strong. If you guys recall, a few years ago in Formula 1, you had the whole grid kind of just putzing along. Nobody wanted to go first. Nobody wanted to give the slipstream, and that only led to, I believe, 3 drivers getting to do one more lap by the time the checkered flag fell. Thankfully, here I don't think we're going to experience that, as there's still plenty of time, and drivers, of course, are going to be gauging just how much time they are going to need to make it through to another lap once that timer expires. Now, the track is green, surprisingly. I could have thought we'd been on optimum, but, you know, things change. So, not perfect track conditions, but we'll be improving slowly but surely. Drivers putting down some rubber, getting a little bit more grip here as things carry on. Rumbouts, though, still up top with that 48.89, and then a little over half a second to Hearn, and then Cuthbert, Hansen, the only drivers within a second, and then it's Dombrowskis, Ippolito, Sack, Cairns, Fredrickson, and beyond that, it's about 1 second, almost 2. Chris Vining, yet to set a lap here, does have one under his belt, so we'll see just where he ends up. Oh, we've got Missouri there, spun out on the side. Looks like there may be some front-end damage on that Audi out of the Ascari chicane, a very common place for drivers to spin out. Vining very late on the brakes, too. Some drivers breaking at about the 100 board. Vining going for the 50. So we'll see where this puts him. As he crosses the line, it's going to be right up to P2. There it is. There's the Brit that we know. A 48.91. Only 200ths behind Rumbouts. There it is. The man waited and waited and waited and got what he wanted. Missoria back in the pits. So it looks like that front end damage was enough to cancel the lap. And he actually is heading back out right now. So by the time he gets back, it's going to be his one and only shot to get a lap posted. So definitely not the afternoon he wants right now, though. Rumbouts, 3/10 improvement, trying to open up that gap to Vining, who's also on a 3/10 improvement, so this would just nullify that. So if Vining wants pole, he's got to find some more time than our Dutch friend here. I'm sure Supermax is blaring on the speakers that get installed in that car, trying to channel the inner two-time world champion here at Monza. Although in a Honda-powered engine, you could say it's pretty close. Rumbouts losing a couple of tenths and Vining actually even with himself. These two are going to get one final attempt here after they cross the start-finish line. So out of Parabolica, Rumbouts really sending it. Some drivers opting for an outside line, others opting for that inside line. It seems to differ depending on who you are. Across the line he goes. It is the improvement of 48.72. Vining 2/10 up. This could be enough, actually, to sneak pole position out from under. You could say his teammates knows they're in the same car. So out of the corner he goes, really sticking to the inside. You can see just how much he's running over the inside corner, and there it is, Vining on pole right now, provisionally 48.66. 600ths ahead of Rumbouts, and they still have one more shot to make things right. Dombrowskis on an improvement. Oh, might have just lost that 10th, and he's lost 2/10 out of the final corner. He's just about a quarter of a second down as he crosses the line. Cuthbert, P4, has a 10th to his name as he crosses the line. Is going to stay there. The improvement not enough to overtake Hearn. So we're getting some pretty solid laps here as things start to wind down. Evan Cairns up into P8 there. Just enough time to get things sorted out. Sven Vischer, haven't really seen him a little too much this evening. Is he going to have enough time to make it? No, he's not. Just a day late and $1 short. The German, currently P11 with a 50.28. He just needed one extra second, and he would have been safe with another lap. Andreas has been overtaken by his brother, who's about half a second, but Andreas has half a second up on his personal best. His best is a 50.8. He's really going to the inside. He's trying to make sure he doesn't go over track limits, and he will overtake his brother Lucas by 1500ths of a second, or 15,000, excuse me, of a second. Incredible stuff from him. Charles Phillips, or actually, sorry, Rumbouts gets a 48.4, but it doesn't count. It does not count. He was on, I think, a 3/10 improvement, and just a little bit wide, and that's it. Phillips having to settle for P17, a 51.8. So we had a 50.8 earlier. Starkey actually has a 50.8. What is going on? Are these drivers like conspiring to have similar times? Also, great looking livery there from Starkey. Absolutely loving it. A very new addition to the lineup. Unfortunately, Starkey, despite that fearsome looking rabbit, is not going to scare that best lap down. He's currently about a 10th as he comes here out of Parabolica, and just behind him is Missoria, who has not set a lap. So across the line, Britain goes. It's not going to be an improvement, and Missoria, last second, makes it P9, pushes Klarenberg out of the top 10. So your top 10 is Vining, Rumbouts, Hearn, Dombrowskis, Cuthbert, Hansen, Ippolito, Cairns, Missoria, and Fredrickson. Great stuff, and ooh, I think I see a little bit of moisture on the track. I could be wrong. Ooh, cloudy skies and a damp track. This is going to get interesting. So, it's not quite raining, but the rain apparently has come through while we were away. So we're actually going to take a nice quick look here at your starting grid, as we always do. A nice look at the liveries before lights out. And you can see the clouds above, but this track is got some moisture on it. So the question is, you know, do you stay on slicks or do you go on wets? Something for the drivers to figure out, but it is going to be Vining on pole room. Bouts joining him up front in the Honda. Hearn and Dombrowskis on that second row, and then it's a couple of McLarens, a Cuthbert, Hansen, Ippolito and Cairns behind them. Missoria and Fredrickson. Missoria just getting that last lap in right away. Klarenberg and Matty Sack, 11 and 12. Vischer, and then Andreas Sienaker besting Lucas. 14 and 15 for the brothers. Craig Starkey in 16 and Itzelski down in P17. Phillips in 18th. Shop in 19th. And Frial will round us out at P20. And of course, the Simrigs safety car. The Chevrolet here. One of the newer cars added to the game. And of course, we're going to just take another quick moment to thank Simrigs again for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. If you're looking to upgrade your equipment, whatever it may be, they've got you covered. Head on over. Simrigs, based out of Melbourne, got all of Australia and New Zealand covered. Absolutely no problems there. I hit a button. There we go. Fixed it. Ahaha. But yes, they got you covered. Everything you need. And if you're like me and you live outside of outside of Australia, New Zealand, you can shoot them an email. They'll get you covered. If you're a Patreon member, of course, you get 5% off. I highly advise you to use it, as that is going to be a nice little bit of savings, especially with just how expensive sim racing equipment can be. So again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. Couldn't do it without you guys, but back on track, 30 seconds to go. So these drivers are going to be able to get these cars off the jacks. Last minute adjustments to be made to these setups. It is a damp track. Rumbouts throwing on the wipers. Don't think that's really necessary. Now drivers have to hit drive within that 30-second window, or else they're going to start from the pit lane, and that is never ever fun. And I believe there it is. The Chevrolet safety car heads on out, and the rest of the grid will follow on this formation lap for 60 minutes of racing ahead of us. And I think we're going to be on for something special as, well, we get ready to see what EU can do here at Monza. Now, again, they just have to make it through turn 1, and they've done better than North America did. That's all they have to do. It's a very simple task, and I think they can pull it off. But we'll get ready for some action here. And again, that damp track, you can see some of the water getting kicked up by these tires as these drivers go around. Greasy track at the moment, so I don't think the wet tires are going to be what drivers need to put on. I think realistically you can stay on slicks and just let a dry line develop. Now there is going to be one mandatory pit stop, of course, with these sprint races. Pit window opens 5 minutes into the race and will close 5 minutes before the end of the race, so you've got quite a long time to do your pit stop. But yeah, drivers, we're going to see what they do, because it's going to be interesting to see what the play is. Because you have to understand that everybody's going to be pitting at different times. Strategies are different. Fuel loads are different. You know, do you go for overfilling? Do you underfill? It doesn't matter, because at the end of it all, your pit stop fuels at the exact same time as new tires. Still 30 seconds flat. But at the very least, these drivers do have to get new tires on the car by the end of the race. Out of Ascari we go. These drivers should be lining up 2 by 2, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Rombouts there just pulling off to the side. The race director calling for the double file. Right there with you, Huneveld. Hopefully, we can get through turn number 1. Smaller grid here, only 20 cars compared to North America, who I believe had almost 30 the last time around. The safety car, though, still sticking around, perhaps learning from the earlier events. And as I say that, Simrigs safety car pulling away, and we are going to be getting ready. So it's Vining on pole. Rombouts joining him on that front row, a Honda 1-2. Hearn is going to be holding back 3 McLarens of Dombrowskis, Cuthbert, and Hansen. Ippolito, the only Mercedes here tonight, into the top 10 at P7, and then it's Cairns, or sorry, it's Ippolito ahead of Cairns, Missouri, Fredrickson, rounding out that top 10. Everybody else following in behind, but ladies and gentlemen, we are rolling up here to the start-finish line. It's Monza, and we know what that means. A long straight followed by some heavy braking. Vining's going to be looking to take another one, and it's green, 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 and it's going to be an extremely good getaway here for the Hondas as we head down the front straight, and also behind, same for Hearn and Dombrowskis, and we have 3 wide there, Ippolito, Cuthbert, and Hansen actually getting a little bit racy here down into turn number 1. Is it going to kick off here? That is the question. Heavy on the brakes. Down through turn 1, 3 by 3 does not go into 2. It's going to be Cuthbert getting knocked around a little bit as we see Sack there in the background and getting spun. It actually looks to be shopped there. So already not a great start there. He's facing the wrong way entirely. Everybody else getting out of there, and it's Vining who's gotten away the best already, pulling out an extreme gap to Rombouts. Just behind them, you see down the inside is going to be the McLaren of Dombrowskis. Can't get Hearn just yet. A yellow flag out on track. Not quite certain what that is about. We are going to hop on board here with Hansen, the newest driver here in the Simrigs Sprint Series P6. A nice snap of oversteer there. Able to recover nicely just up ahead there. You do see Klarenberg, you do see Dombrowskis, and not the best exit there out of the second Lesmo. So he is going to lose time. Cuthbert behind, trying to hunt down this pink McLaren, and behind that actually we do see Cairns having to lead. Fredrickson in a very precarious spot right now. He's got Klarenberg and Lucas Zenaker behind him. Oh, what's happened to Andreas? Andreas is down in P15. Not quite certain. That might have been the red flag not the red flag, the yellow we saw earlier. But right now, Fredrickson, look at this little train that's going on. We've got drivers all over the place in the background. I believe that was Andreas that was off the track earlier. Klarenberg right now has Sack and Lucas behind him. What a start we've had here. Very, very clean overall. We saw some 3 wide as we went into turn 1. That was never going to work, but these drivers smarter than that. We've got Ippolito starting to come under attack here from Nidzelsky, and we do have Frail here. It said he was out for a second. That's very strange. But Igor Nidzelsky in the slipstream behind Ippolito. Is he going to go for a lunge down the inside? No, he's not. Frail actually thought about it there for a moment. Thinks better of it. The sun is coming out. Oh, those barriers getting booted around like footballs. Am I talking about American football, or am I talking about the sport itself, soccer? Who knows? But right now, it is some side-by-side action here. Mercedes versus McLaren. And it will be the McLaren who ducks into the slipstream. Is going to be looking for a move down the inside. Nidzelsky, is this move done? Not quite yet. He has to go to the inside. There's a bit of a bump there. Ippolito, that Mercedes, a little too solid for the McLaren to pass through, and that does bring Frail in closer. The sun has come out. This is going to dry the track, but there is rain 30 minutes from now. Drivers are definitely going to be looking to that. Nidzelsky going for a move down the inside onto Ippolito. And you can see this little battle pack forming, the battle for P15 really starting to kick off. And it's actually where we kind of want to be, but we got to hop up really quick. Fischer and Starkey right now as we head down into the Ascari chicane. It is going to be the German that comes out on top in this battle. Ooh, a little bit of oversteer right there, and just up ahead, Phillips doesn't get the best run. And of course, just up ahead of this, it's going to be Lucas having to go into battle against Klarenberg. Steps out, lets the Porsche through, going to try to get him with the slipstream. Matty Sack doing a phenomenal job of keeping up with these two, despite all the battling that they're doing. It is some great stuff. Out of the final corner goes Phillips and Vischer across the start-finish line. They go door-to-door here. Down the front straight, it is going to be a question of who is the bravest down into turn number 1. You can just see the BMW of Vischer there peeking on the right side for just a moment, and Vischer's actually going to step out. Phillips misses breaking point, has to take to the escape road. Where is that going to put him in relation to Vischer? Vischer going to just blow on by. That Zebra's got some legs. It's got a lot of speed under the hood, and Starkey now eyeing up his fellow McLaren driver. As Phillips taking that defensive line, and he is going to hold on to this 13th position for the time being. Starkey, though, not going to give up the fight just yet. There's still a lot of time to go in the background. We do see Friel, I believe that it was, going wide. And that is going to just let Andreas through. So Andreas now on the charge, back up to catch up with his brother Lucas, all the way up in P10 for the amateur class driver leading his class right now. Phillips the closest in P13. Pit window has just opened at this moment. And we hop back here. Martin Hansen right now pulling along a few other McLarens, Dombrowskis, Cuthbert, and Cairns. All four of these guys in the McLaren. Actually, Cairns is quite a ways back. But Dombrowskis and Cuthbert, at the very least, will be benefiting. And it doesn't look like Hansen got the best line. And, of course, with this slipstream, Dombrowskis is going to absolutely get very, very close. You can see just how powerful the slipstream is here at Monza. And especially in cars that have very good acceleration and top end. Well, that's what these McLarens are all about. And having somebody punching a hole through the air is going to be a huge benefit to you. Hansen really going defensive there, just parking that car on the apex, making life almost impossible for Dombrowskis. Cuthbert as well catching up, and Cairns having to deal with Fredrickson, who's actually made up quite a good bit of time here at the start of this race. Matty Sack again dealing with Zenaker. Actually does get around into the top 10, but he's got to hold on to this for as long as he can, and as long as that's going to be as well, another 53.5 minutes. That is going to be quite difficult to do. Hansen, a huge moment of oversteer there, manages to catch that. Beautiful stuff. Great driving there from the Swede. Dombrowskis almost into the back of that McLaren, but thankfully able to get quick on those brakes and save himself from some embarrassment. And there is Cuthbert just behind, not quite close enough. Man, with that Fina livery, it almost looks like the old McLaren F1 GT, if you guys remember that. I believe it was a 1998, 1997 variant of it. Beautiful looking car, favorite car of all time. Would kill to have one with that livery. Unfortunately not in the game, as both Hansen and Dombrowskis not really getting the best exit there at Ascari. And that does open up the gap, and you can see Cairns there opening up the gap to Fredrickson, who has really fallen behind. Look here, Starkey right now. Look at what he's got behind him. He's got look at Phillips. Phillips has Starkey, and even Ippolito's actually going to be going for something, it looks like. So we're right on board here with the Italian. This is home soil for him. He's looking for an inside line. Goes door to door there with Starkey, who's just exited left of screen. These drivers giving each other just enough space. Well, actually, look at that. So out of the final corner, Starkey having to get demoted down into P15. You see some damage there on the back of Ippolito's Mercedes. A little bit of bumping. Probably nothing too serious. May affect the performance a little bit. And there's Matty Sack off. Matty Sack has binned it into turn 1, and this is going to be a lot of positions lost here. He's going to lose 3 right off the bat, and just beyond that, it's Zenaker and Nitzelski who are going to be having no problems. Actually, they're going to have some problems picking up, because Sack has enough of a gap right now that he doesn't have to worry about losing that position. Ippolito still trying to take P12 away from Phillips. Phillips was on the inside for turn 1. Ippolito taking to the runoff. There's a bump there between Zenaker, and I believe that was Nzeltsky. Ippolito just having to slot and actually is going to lose a position to Starkey, so not what he wants. Matty Sack joining the fray in this race. Some very solid racing here. These first 10 minutes have gone by exceptionally well. Couple of offs, and in the background, I just had to talk. Oh, you hate to see it. It's Fabian Schaap. Just got loose there out of the second Lesmo. Looks like he kept it off the wall, thankfully, but he is in the back, way down the field, and he's got a lot of work to do. Speaking of work that has to get done, Martin Hansen with his hands full right now. Still having to defend from Dombrowskis. A very good job, especially from the Lithuanian, to keep point with the other McLaren. It's going to be the inside line a little bit later on the brakes there for Dombrowskis. Car number 4 going to hop right up into position number 4, and he does get bumped from behind. Hansen, I think he got a little bit too eager on exit. It looks like he may have just gone into the back of him, and Dombrowskis getting demoted way down the field. P5 to P9, and he has got quite the campaign ahead of him to get back to where he was. We'll see what the stewards think of that. Starkey, has Starkey gotten together with Sack? Yes, he has. We're going to roll this one back and see what happened. Wait, hold on. So Starkey is going for a move on Phillips. Goes to the inside. Has to back out of it. Oh, what is this? So, wait. Okay, so, all right. So Starkey gets turned around by Phillips completely on accident. That doesn't look deliberate. And then I believe it was Andreas Zenaker that went into Matty Sack. It was barely a touch, but it was enough to spin him around. So originally thinking that it was between the two spun drivers, it was actually two completely separate incidences that caused that. So the stewards definitely going to be taking a look at that. I'm sure we'll be seeing some penalties getting dished out. Nzeltsky here with Missoria just behind. There's a lot of front-end damage on that Audi. Definitely hurting the performance somewhat. As we head into Ascari, Missoria throwing it down the inside. Very solid overtake there. And onto the back stretch. Ooh, Nzeltsky has to release a little bit. And is going to lose some time. So Missouri, despite some front-end damage, is able to carry on. Matty Sack here is running door-to-door with Starkey, using that slipstream into Parabolica. Just down the inside, and actually backs out. Surprised he had a lot of room to work with, just enough. But decides that maybe he wants to go for it down into turn 1. As he does have the slipstream. I have not used the Lexus. I don't know how good it is in a straight line, but with the slipstream, Sack pulls out to the outside here. Starkey having to defend down into turn number 1. Missoria is going to let Nzeltsky through, and there's a touch. Nzeltsky's around. Missouria's off track. It looks like he is, both of these drivers able to keep their cars going. It does give the position back. So turn 1, despite being the place to be for an overtake, is seemingly quite difficult for some of these drivers, as we've seen 3 crashes in the last couple of laps there. Matty Sackman really having to defend. Looks like we have Schaap trying to go around the outside. Actually does get the move done. Fabian Schaap upgrading from P20 to P19. Not a lot of damage on that Porsche. There's some bumps and bruises, of course, but not as much as on what's Missouri's car. You can see that hood propped up a little bit. So I'm sure the mechanics will get right under that and see if there's any problems. Right now we're going to hop up here. The battle for P9 between Klarenberg, Dombrowskis here on the charge again after his turn 1 incident. Manages to just spook Klarenberg off his line and gets the overtake done before we even get halfway through the corner. So Klarenberg will set up shop in P9. Behind him, Lucas Zenaker, the brother Andreas, down in P14, just in no man's land right now. Doesn't really have a slipstream to Phillips. Doesn't give Friala a slipstream. Phillips's last lap, we're actually going to take a look here as he crosses the line. It's a 51.83, and for Zenaker, it is going to be a 51.39. or sorry, a 51.4. So about 0.4 a lap quicker right now. We'll see if that trend continues as this race carries on. Martin Hansen right now has got a lot to deal with, and that is going to be a Scotsman named Evan Cairns. Thought about a move down the inside, backed out and thought better of it. You see Cuthbert just up ahead, exiting screen. And we have two little packs forming here between Hansen, Cairns, Fredriksson, and then Dombrowskis, Klarenberg, and Zinaker in the background as well. We could be seeing a 6-way fight here for P5. This would be absolutely incredible stuff if these gaps can get closed up, and it looks like it's actually going to be Dombrowskis that gets a very, very good exit as he is pulling on up. You do see Fredriksson around the outside there with Cairns into the Ascari chicane. Dombrowskis is actually going to take advantage of this. That's going to push Cairns off his line, and Dombrowskis picking up a position absolutely for free. No questions asked. Klarenberg as well. And in the, or not Klarenberg, excuse me. I believe it was Fredriksson, but we have Klarenberg, Zinaker, and I believe that's Cairns right now. Zinaker doing a very good job looking down the inside. Klarenberg going to give us a nice little overview, getting a very good exit there out of the corner. Cairns just bleeding positions right now from P7 down to P10. It's not been a very good third sector for him. And as we head down, Klarenberg with that slipstream, he's going to be looking around the outside. Zinaker's going to try to defend, and just up ahead, Fredriksson as well trying to defend from Dombrowskis, who does get that overtake done. We look out the back. Dombrowskis already on the run. Zinaker going door to door right now with Klarenberg as we head through Curva Grande. It's very close between the two drivers, both in German manufactured cars, but not German drivers. Klarenberg from the Netherlands, Zinaker from Germany is looking for a dive down the inside. It's a very ambitious move, and he is going to take Fredriksson out. Fredriksson, an innocent bystander in all of that, is going to drop into P11 behind Vischer, the Norwegian. The wrong place, the wrong time. And I am sure the stewards are going to be looking heavily into that. That was, it's not far enough back. That was a very, very silly move that was attempted there. It was too hot coming in. There wasn't enough time. Perhaps the driver in question got a little too ambitious, thought braking a little too early was a good idea, and well, we saw what happened. But man, what a heartbreaking moment there for Fredriksson. Getting demoted way down, further than he would have liked. Rumbout's getting around. Oh, actually, no. Hearn has been chipping away at this lead from Rumbout's. We haven't even noticed it because we've been busy focusing on other battles. So I'm wondering, maybe it wasn't enough each lap, but maybe Rumbout's had a bit of an excursion at some point, lost a lot of time, because he was several seconds clear of Hearn, but now he's less than half a second. So this could be a lead change, and just behind, Vining's looking to hunt down these two. Vining actually with the fastest lap, a 48.5. That is a 10th faster than Rumbout's and 3/10 beyond Hearn's scope at the moment. We'll keep an eye on this. Cairns still having to deal with pressure. It seems like no matter where he goes, there's always going to be somebody trying to make a move. Zinaker thought about it. Ooh, Vischer. Vischer's going around there. He got on the dirt just a little bit. Excellent job of keeping that BMW from hitting another car or a wall. Fredriksson's going to just skirt on through, pick up P10 for himself. That does put pressure off of Lucas, but for Cairns, it remains. Phillips as well, dealing with Andreas. So both of the Zinaker brothers looking to make some moves happen, but right now it's Lucas, the amateur class brother, who is taking bragging rights at the moment, as he has had an amazing start following his brother's unfortunate early race misfortunes. And with the slipstream on Cairns, he is going to be looking to overtake. Cairns taking that inside line to try and hold a position Lucas earlier on the brakes, looks for a little bit of a switchback, but Cairns saw it coming, covered off the inside extremely well, and for the time being holds on just a little bit longer, and actually builds a pretty solid gap as we get onto another lap. And there is going to be 10 seconds for Zunaker, a penalty for collision on lap number 1. Lucas, very late on the brakes, looking to try to make it work around the outside. There's a bit of a bump there, but is able to keep things sorted out. Lucas getting very racy here. A 51.5 was his last lap, and then it was a 51.5 for his last lap, a 51.4 for Cairns. So not that much between them, but you have to understand Zunaker probably had to get off the throttle a little bit, and well, has lost some time. Zoria picking up 10 seconds as well. Collision on lap number 1 is his penalty, or is his punishment for his actions earlier on. Now this is before we get to the pit stops. Nizelski as well picking up 10 seconds. I assume that's for a collision on lap 1, so a lot of these lap 1 incidents is getting punishment handled out. There's Fischer off in the background going a little bit wide. Klarenberg doing an excellent job of pulling away here from Cairns, really building up that gap more and more each lap. But with these penalties, these will get applied when these cars are in the pit lane. And if I know anything, it's better to get a penalty prior to your pit stop, get it added on than after. And actually, the weather's cleared up a bit, so we were looking at rain in about 30 minutes from the start of the race. Would have been coming in about 10 minutes from now, but it seems as though Mother Nature has other plans. The sky is going to remain clear for the time being, and we'll see if that is true until the end of the race. Cairns, you can see, just sticking to the inside line. He knows that's the place to be, but Lucas does have the slipstream, pulls out, but I don't know if he can really stand up to the top end that the McLaren has, that mid-engine car, one of the best that is actually available in the game. A little tricky to drive, but you can get it done. Oh, look at this, a little door-by-door action as we head into turn 2. Beautiful stuff from both of these guys to keep it clean and keep it going. Cairns remaining ahead. The question is, how long is that going to happen? Phillips has Matty Sack, who's just gotten around him before they even get to turn 1. A better run out of the corner. Oh, hold on. Wait, no, we are getting rain in 10 minutes. It appears as though our weatherman perhaps having a little bit of a drink right now. And Shop is actually into the pits, the first of the 20 drivers to get their pit stop done. So Shop's is going to be looking at probably about 38, maybe a little under that, of racing, and the safety car moving on up, messing him up a little bit, perhaps a little too far back for the OOR's liking. Martin Hansen right now running in a very solid P5 for an unrated driver. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Pro-Am or even a Pro promotion the next chance he gets. And just behind him, Dombrowskis is really not doing too hot. Now with Fabian Shop, I'm wondering if he saw the weather change and made the call to go on to wet tires. Now, here's the thing. If Shop is going on to dries, he's going to have to make another stop eventually, because of this wet weather we're going to be having, but it's only going to be for about 10 minutes. So, how slippery is this track going to get by the time the rain is done and dusted? How quickly can these drivers clear the water from the surface? That's the big question. So we're going to be having about 7 more minutes of dryness before that rain starts coming down, and then it'll be about 10 minutes of that, and then it'll be back to clouds. So Shop's out of the pits just about now. Onto the front straight. You see Starkey there. He is going to be blue flag. Does have to let the McLaren through. That he does. Really slowing it down, making sure that he doesn't compromise Starkey's race and carries on. Who knows? Maybe Shop has some big brain play. If we pull up the HUD, he is on dry tires. So the question becomes, does he tough it out through the rain and stay on those slicks and bank on a drier line coming up quickly, or does he have to go into the pit lane again? That's going to be the question. That's going to be the ultimate decision for him to make. Megan D, some strategy, best to stick to the slicks, trash them as they get dry again, and then change. Interesting. We'll see if Shop does that. I'm not too certain if that'll be the case. See the clouds kind of building a little bit overhead. So rain just about 5 minutes out. And then it'll be a nice little quick shower for 10, and then, well, right back to current conditions. We may be seeing it. Actually, whoa, hold on. Wait, Hearn is taking the lead of this race. Hearn is taking the lead. I haven't been watching that. So Hearn into the lead over Rumbouts, and just behind that is Vining. So the last lap for Hearn was a 48.8. Rumbouts is a 49.7, so I'm wondering if maybe he went off somewhere. Possibly turn 1? I'm not certain, but what is known is that Hearn has taken the lead of this race, leading the two Hondas down the back straight, and I mean, with the slipstream, it's going to be quite tricky to defend, as he is sticking to the racing line, and Vining is just beyond the fold. Here, sitting comfortably in P3, but you know he's going to be looking for P2, potentially even P1. Doesn't look like he got the best exit compared to his fellow Honda driver, Rumbouts. Vining, though, still with fastest lap. That 48.362 is actually the time to beat. So very, very good stuff from him. Friel's into the pits. Hearn taking to the outside racing line. Rumbouts going to just slot him behind. Through turn 1 they go. Hearn holding on to this lead. How the tides have changed this race. After Rumbouts and Vining got quite the start and pulled away, Hearn has slowly but surely been taking the chisel and hammer and just chipping away at that lead. And is looking to carry that on a little bit wide there for Rumbouts. Cairns into the bits. Cuthbert as well. 33.5 to go. And about 3.5 before that rain gets here. So we'll see how things sort of pan out as the liquid falls from the sky. Hopefully nothing falling out of the cars. It's never good. But this will turn the race on its head if I had to bet on it. Ippolito right now with Friel behind. Oh, Friel is a lap down, so that's not even a battle. That's just something that happens to exist. Zenaker up into P7 following some pit stops with Fredrickson and Vischer behind. These guys will get shuffled back around as the pit stops come through. Hearn only 3/10 down to Rumbouts, but even with the slipstream, Honda is struggling to overtake as Hearn last second dives to the inside at Parabolica. Maybe seeing how much of a run he can get. He's really sticking to that inside, trying to shorten the corner as much as he can. And Cuthbert actually telling us that he miscalculated his fuel. Right now we continue to look on these two. Rumbouts thought about it. Down the inside. Is there enough room? Yep, just lets Hearn cut across. Almost slicing his nose clean off. But able to hold on to the lead, and Vining, despite having these two do battle a little bit, is not able to take advantage. Hansen into the pits now for his mandatory stop. And we'll see. Let's just check with Cuthbert. So it looks like the dry tire is the tire to choose. And, yeah, Cuthbert, your blinkers are still on. You silly man. Shout-outs to my drivers that leave their blinkers on. You're the real MVPs. But this battle for P1 is not over yet. Despite the overtake, Rumbouts is more than capable of getting past Hearn. It's just about seeing if and when Hearn makes a mistake. Last lap for Hearn was a 48.9 and then a 48.8 and a 48.8 for both Honda drivers of Rabouts and Vining. Things are getting a little bit dicey now, and the rain sure to come any second now. And at that point, well, it's about keeping yourself together until you get back onto a dry line. Missouri into the pits, so not only is it going to be 30 seconds, it's going to be another 10 at least with that penalty, and we have to think if he's going to fix damage or not. If he's in there for longer, then yeah, we'll be fixing damage. There was a fair bit of crumpling on that front end of the Audi. Definitely hurting top speed a good bit. But Rambout's not really getting the best toe down the back straight. Monza, of course, a track where you want to run as little downforce as possible because, well, why would you need to? Why would you need downforce on a track that's basically just 2 straight lines and a couple of corners? The most time you are going to be gaining is through, well, here, actually, Zineker, Fredrickson, and Vischer. Zineker goes into the pits for his first stop of the evening, and hopefully his only stop. Fredrickson and Vischer staying out. 30 minutes to go. The rain, any second now, will start falling from the sky. We'll have 10 minutes of precipitation, and then from there, well, it's just about getting that dry line formed again, clearing off as much water as you can. Now, there's not going to be any sun. There is no wind, so it's up to these drivers to clear a line. And Missouri out of the pit, so yeah, looks like it was damage that he got fixed to keep that Audi going. Yeah, he does. That front end is back down to where it should be. Right here, Chris Vining's lost a lot of time, actually, through these last few corners. And is sitting quite a ways back. There's the rain. The rain's starting to fall. It's actually going to increase in 10 minutes, so it looks like the call might be to go on to wets. Possibly, if the rain's going to pick up in 10 minutes, you're going to have to go on to wets, and it's going to be Hearn that dives into the pit lane. Rumbouts and Vining staying out. The 2 Hondas taking the lead, albeit for the time being. So Hearn and Zineker in the pit lane. Zineker on his way out, actually. So hopefully we'll see. Is he on wets? No, he's on dries. Lucas has made a fatal error, it seems. The rain's going to pick up, and I don't think those slicks are going to be enough to handle all that moisture on track. We'll see what Hearn goes on to. Dombrowskis is going into the pits just now. So we'll see if these two go on to wet tires. Nidzelsky picking up an extra 5 seconds, it looks like. Yeah, he picks up an extra 5 for a collision on lap 5. And then it's Hansen with 10 for a collision on lap 6. So later, I mean, we're 11 laps from then, but the penalty's coming through. We do have a yellow flag out somewhere on track. I'm not quite certain where that is. Oh, the 340 car has spun out at Parabolica. We'll see if we can catch that. Oh, I see. Yep. All right. Phillips a little bit too inside at the at the first half of the Ascari chicane. Very commonplace for a lot of drivers to spin out, especially when you're really trying to push for these laps. But thankfully kept it out of the wall and carries on like nothing happened. Dombrowskis out of the pits. Klarenberg, Vischer, Ippolito, Saxy, Naker into the pits as well. And right now Phillips has Cuthbert to deal with. Cuthbert already doing his pit stop. So we head down the front straight. It's going to be a very close shave there. Whew, that was a little too close for my liking. And if I'm not mistaken, that should be Dombrowskis. It is. He is on the lead lap, and the track is greasy. It looks like Mother Nature doesn't really know what she wants to do. It was raining, and then it was not going to rain, and then it was going to rain more, and now it's going to stop. Mother Nature, I think you've had a little too much. I think you need to go to bed. Come on, drink some water, please, sweetie. So let's see what the call is. So we'll go basic HUD with Ippolito. It is the wet tire, and the track is greasy, and there's still going to be about 15 or so minutes by the time everything gets sorted out. Vining goes into the pit lane. We'll see what he comes out on, but things are really getting mixed up now. And there is, that is Lucas Zenaker, who is going to be going on to wets. He did have those slicks on. But despite all he's done, where is Andreas? Andreas is P15 at the moment. And for Lucas, despite all he's done, despite his brother's earlier escapades to lands beyond the racing surface, it looks as though Andreas is back on top. Just older brother things showing that eventually you are better than your siblings. I can relate. I am the youngest of 3. And there's Yvonne Cairns. Oh, little good hit into the wall. Just lost it on the entrance. And he is on those dry tires. So, yeah, the track is damp. It's getting more difficult to drive. So Cairns is going to have to make a decision. That hood is propped up. You can see it vibrating just a little bit. So let's see if he goes into the pit lane. Some drivers trying to tough it out on the slicks, but it looks like they aren't strong enough to deal with that. And yeah, Yvonne Cairns, it's time to get some treads on that. Matty Sack is out of the pit lane. Starkey getting his pit stop done. And we still have Rumbouts, Fredrickson, and Phillips that have yet to pit. Hansen with that 10 second. That'll get added on at the end of the race. I actually... Whoa, hold on. What has happened here? Fredrickson facing the wrong way entirely. So this is into Ascari. So he goes under the bridge here. Into the braking zone. Turns it in. It seems pretty darn clean. Oh, no. He gets on the curb. There's so much water on that and just spins it out. Remains in P2 though. So despite that little incident, is able to keep it together and hold on. Rumbouts and Fredrickson and Phillips, the only drivers who have yet to pit. This race really calming down. We had a quite chaotic start. Things got sorted out. We looked at Dombrowskis here as he goes around a back marker. What is he on? He's on wets. So we may be seeing some pit stops late in the race. It depends on how quickly these drivers can clear a path for slicks, because what could end up happening is, say there's a dry line in the last couple of minutes. Well, what's the point of pitting? You're just going to lose more time. So what you have to then do is stick to the wet parts of the track to keep those tires cool. And basically just try to remain there for as long as you can before the end. Fredrickson into the pit, so Phillips and Rumbout still have to get that sorted out, as we see Frial messing up at breakpoint going off. And I firmly believe that those are dry tires. On a wet track they are. He's just going to be letting Cuthbert on through. Nidzalski with Cairns here for P15 gets the overtake done around the outside into Lesmo 1 as they come out. Out the back we look. You can see, you can just hear how gentle some of these drivers are being as they head over these curbs. It can be very easy to spin, even with those wet tires, as we see. I believe that was Lucas Zenaker in the background getting a little bit squirrely on exit, able to keep that BMW pointed the right way. Rumbouts into the pit lane, getting his mandatory stop done with 22 minutes to go. And Phillips is sitting in P8, but of course that's only temporary, as Fredrickson picks up a 10 seconds. I believe that was for a collision earlier on. Hansen obviously with 10, Phillips with 10. It looks like, yeah, those are the only just Phillips. So for Phillips, this is good, because then you can take your 10 seconds, add on to your pit stop, and ideally you keep it clean until the end of the race. Yvonne Cairns has gotten the overtake done on Nidzalski's, but it's still not done. They are still arguing about who is going to be in P15 as we head down to turn 1 a little bit later on the brakes. For Nidzalski, he's going to throw it into the corner of the pole, doing what he can to try to fend off the Brit, and he's not going to get the best exit. Karen's a little bit squirrely on exit, but is going to hold on to P14, or P15, excuse me, does get the job done. Nidzalski still on the hunt for that position. Klarenberg has Hansen just behind. Ooh, the Swede gonna force the Dutchman to go defensive on the inside. He's gonna try to do a little bit of a mini switchback. Gets a little loose there, and it is not gonna work out. So he continues to stick behind in P7. With that 10-second penalty, though, it really won't matter. Klarenberg knows that. All he has to do is stay within 10 seconds if he falls behind, and he'll get gifted that position. But if you're ahead, well, then who really cares? It's not that much of a problem. Matty Sack having to deal with Simone Ippolito for P11. Matty Sack earlier in the race having a bit of a spin and getting put quite a ways down the grid, but has recovered quite well, in fact. Missoria and Frial into the pits. I'm wondering if that's for damage or maybe a change of tires. Maybe the slick's not the call. But this is going to get very, very interesting towards the end of the race. Once this rain dies off and once that dry line is shown, becomes a question of who stays out. Who stays out and tries to just hold on to those wet parts of the racetrack? Who remains, or who goes in for slicks? Now, Phillips, it should be noted that Phillips is on dry tires. So perhaps Phillips is waiting for the rain to die off to go for a pit stop and maybe bank on other drivers getting off the wets. If so, I mean, that is going to be quite the big brain play. Klarenberg into the pit lane, so Hansen will overtake, and it looks like Phillips as well is gonna pass up the pit lane. So it looks like Klarenberg maybe not happy with the set of tires he's on, but things have certainly calmed down in this race. Fabian Schopp right now. I think we just saw him, yeah. Has to deal with some back marker. Actually, no, that's not a back marker. That's someone who's actually, I think, trying to take his position. Or no, it's not. No, Odin Missoria, only 19 laps to his name. Schopp with 20. So that extra pit stop for the Frenchman has hurt him quite a lot. Things carry on. Nidzalski getting around the back marker of Frial. Ippolito here with Sack. So this is really the battle to be. Andreas picking up a drive-through penalty for track limits. He is going to have to get in and out of that pit lane as quickly as humanly possible. And the rain still coming down despite when it came down, it said it was just going to be cloudy. So we've gone over our allotted 10 minutes. Looks like I was wrong, actually. But my weather forecasting predictions, and with Simone Ippolito getting that overtake done, he is really starting to pull away. Sack struggling to keep on up. The Mercedes, though, into the top 10. We'll see how long that can hold on for. Hearn down into P number 2, surprisingly. Has not caught up to Rumbautz despite the undercut attempt. Hearn's putting in quite a lap. Or sorry, Rumbautz putting in quite a lap. And it has paid off quite well. So Rumbautz right back up into front. Hearn in a little bit of a Honda sandwich. I don't know how well, or actually no, where is Vining? Vining is quite a ways off. He is, I think, in a completely different postal code. And ladies and gentlemen, the rain has stopped falling. There is no longer rain on this track coming from up above. So drivers are now going to start clearing a dry line. And that's when things are going to get interesting. Because for someone like Phillips, who has stayed out a while, I don't know if it's been worth it, actually. With that 10-second penalty lingering, I don't know how well that's going to work out. He's going to have to bank on drivers ahead really being on wet tires as a dry line develops. Right now he's got Vischer behind. So Sven Vischer looking to overtake the Croatian. So we head into Lesmo 1. You can see just how much Phillips is struggling on those dry tires. And I believe Vischer as well. So both of these drivers on slicks. Misery loves company. And, well, these two certainly doing that, keeping each other company here. Despite the difference, Dombrowskis, I saw, it was an overtake. It was a back marker. Now, Andreas Seneker, we do have to look because he has that drive-through penalty. And when you get the drive-through penalty, you have 3 laps to serve it, or else you're going to be getting quite the, I wouldn't say the slap on the wrist, but, you know, 30 seconds is never fun. But we'll see if he does decide to go and do it this lap. Oh, Vischer's quite a ways off. Something's happened there between him and Phillips. And we do see the Porsche of, I believe that's Shop getting out of the way. Yeah, the 203 Porsche moving aside, those blue flags doing their job. And behind them, of course, is going to be Fredriksson. Vischer knows that Phillips has 10 seconds, but he's not going to wait for 10 seconds. He's not going to wait for the pit stop. He wants to get this move done now. He's going to be looking down the inside. Has to really stand on the brakes to avoid going into that rear quarter panel of Phillips. That does reel Fredriksson in closer a little bit. Last lap for Vischer was a 2:01.25. Phillips a 2:01.7. That, of course, was with that little bit of miscommunication at Parabolica as they navigated Shop, but it's door-to-door here as we head down into the second chicane, and Phillips just pulling out of that one. Vischer was late on the brakes, really trying to find all the time he can. It doesn't work out, goes a little bit wide. Fredriksson's going to pick that up. It says, thank you very much. I will have no problem looking after this P8 for you. Potentially P7 as it looks for a little bit of a switch back down the inside at the first Lesmo. Is he going to be brave on the brakes into the second? Who knows? He's going to be a little bit later. And does that scare off Phillips? No, it doesn't. That does pull Vischer back in. These guys are not done. Vischer's still having an argument over this position. He was having to figure out if he was going to take 7th from Phillips, but that wasn't the case. Got a little bit too eager and just lost some time. Fredriksson overtook, but with Fredriksson's attempted move on Phillips, it didn't quite play out. Vischer back into P8. Phillips, though, 8.5 minutes to serve his first mandatory stop. With that 10-second penalty, it's going to be a bit tricky to calculate everything, where he's going to come out of. Vischer getting the overtake done, does throw it way around the outside, really trying to find all the time he can. This battle for P7 is really just a beautiful thing to watch. You see Phillips and Fredriksson door-to-door down the front straight. We're going to look out the back of Vischer's car. It's going to give us a nice little overview of just how close these two are, not only to Vischer, but to each other as we head down into turn number 1. It looks like Fredriksson later on the brakes, maybe going for 2 here. Double or nothing, and he's going to come up one hand with a position. Phillips falling behind Andreas Seneker now. Going to be serving that drive-through. Lucas is a ways back. Could potentially get that position. We'll see where he's at. Oh, he's quite a ways back, and Andreas is about to come out of the pit lane. So it doesn't look like it's going to matter. Phillips losing out here to Fredriksson. Fredriksson also with 10 seconds, and same with Hansen. Hansen will have about a 2-second buffer to Vischer. And if Vischer and Fredriksson continue to fight, this will put even more time between them. Ooh, Vischer getting way out there, getting nice and sideways here at the exit of the first Lesmo. Goes a little bit wide at the exit of the second, and just has to concede the position, as Fredriksson will gladly take P7 away from him. But 10 seconds, Vischer just has to keep it close. Just within 10 seconds, that's all he has to do. And he'll get that position awarded to him. The track's still damp. These drivers trying to clear a dry line as quickly as humanly possible. And the backstretch once again giving us a nice little overview. Fredriksson, despite all the trouble he had getting around Fisher and Phillips, has done an excellent job and has just pulled away. Man, Phillips, I gotta say, Phillips is really stretching those dries as much as he can. 6 minutes to go here, and is now going to decide to pit. I think he might have hesitated a little bit. Couldn't decide if he wanted to go in, but decided, you know what? The track is greasy. So, where is this? This is going to spit him out somewhere, I believe, towards the back. But there are going to be drivers on wet tires who do want to go on to slicks again. So we'll see just how this plays out. We'll see if Phillips, maybe, with the Galaxy Brain play of just hold off as long as you can, because a greasy track will eventually become fast. Green, and then, well, we probably won't see optimum by race end, but definitely something to look forward to. Hansen starting to feel the pressure, as Fredriksson's done an incredible job of picking up the slack. Hansen's last lap was a 2:07.36. Wondering if maybe there's a little bit of some outside racing shenanigans. Andreas picks up 15 seconds. Could that have been for speeding in the pit lane? It might have been. I didn't see it right away, but that could be what it's all about. Chris Vining here, still in P3, still with the fastest lap. A 48.36. Keep in mind, that was done before the rain started falling. So I highly doubt we'll be seeing anybody do better than that any time soon. The sun's starting to come out here in Italy. So this will drive the track even faster. Oh, it is getting very, very interesting. You can kind of see that dry line developing as we actually use Vining as a bit of an anchor point. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of last-minute stops. What has Phillips come out on? Phillips is on dry. Oh, it is going to be getting very, very scary. And you have to think about who is on wet tires. Rumbout's stayed on dries. Hearn is on dries. Vining's on dries. Dombrowskis is on wets. So you can see he's not going on that dry line. He's trying to go on those darker side of the track where the water still is, because those wet tires are going to be screaming at him. Those things overheat very quickly. Cuthbert's on dries. Hansen's on dries. Fredriksson's on wet. Fredriksson's going to have to... I don't know if there's going to be enough time to really take advantage of that wet line, because I think by the time they get back around on the final lap, it's going to be gone. So Fredriksson's going to have to pit. Vischer's on dries. Sack is on dries. Andreas Naker's on wets. Oh, goodness me. Klarenberg is on dries. Starkey's on dries. Cairns is on wets. You can see him doing the same thing, sticking on those dark sides. Lucas is on wets. Ippolito's on dries. Phillips on dries. Nidzalski's on wets. Shop's on dries. Frial is on dries. Ladies and gentlemen, things are going to get very spicy very quickly, because these drivers are going to have to make another stop. There's no way they can make it to the end on those wet tires. I don't know in what world that's possible, but I don't think this is going to be it. And with both Zinaker brothers having 15 seconds, Hansen and Fredriksson with 10, oh man, it's going to get kind of confusing, I think. Vischer staying within 10 seconds, though, so this position will get given over by race end. And in an afternoon that started chaotically, it's still going to be chaotically. Klarenberg, he knows that Andreas has a 15-second penalty, but he doesn't really care about that. He wants to try to get this move done, waste as little time as possible, and there it is, just ducking down the inside. Those wet tires for Andreas not helping in the slightest. Will not be surprised if we see the German go into the pit lane And you can really see just how much this track is drying now. There's going to be rain in 30 minutes, but that's not going to matter. The race is going to be over in 6.5. So if you're on wet tires, you really have to make a decision. Do you go in? And I look at Andreas running it wide at Parabolica, and he's staying out. This is going to be very dangerous. Later on, Fredriksson does have Vischer really breathing down the back of his neck as they both go wide. Fredriksson doing what he can. If I'm not mistaken, Fredriksson's on wets. So you're going to see just how difficult braking becomes. And the turn in, oh my god, it's so slow. Oh, Vischer getting a little too ambitious on the inside, rides those sausage curbs, almost loses it. Manages to keep his BMW pointed in the right direction. So for Fredriksson, for the time being, remains in 7th, but of course that 10 seconds lingering will not matter. And he stays out on wets for another lap. The pit window closing in 20 seconds, but that's only for the mandatory stop. It does not matter if you've already done it. Of course, the safety car, technically speaking, has not served a pit stop. Well, it might be what's going on here. It doesn't matter, though. We don't care about that as much as we care about the safety car. We love you, safety car. But there it is, the pit window's closed. So for those that haven't pitted, well, penalties are going to get dished out. But of course, everybody's pitted, so it doesn't matter. But Fredriksson, look at the track. It's still greasy, but you can see just how dry it looks. If we actually go overhead, I mean, what's the difference between that dry racing line and the wet off line? I mean, they're the same thing at this point. So for some of these drivers, it is going to be about just nursing the tires as best you can. I can only imagine what color those tires look like on the MFD. I'm certain they look like a nice bright red, or on the HUD rather, a nice bright red. And Vischer, despite his little excursion, if you will, or almost excursion at Ascari here just one lap ago, has caught up beautifully. Look at how early Fredriksson has to brake to make this corner. Just because of how much less grip he has and because of how hot those tires are, he's not able to take the same line, or the same brake point rather, than his competitor here. Is Vischer ducking onto the grass a little bit, maybe trying to take off some of the heat. Vischer gonna dive down the inside. Those wet tires just too hot, cannot turn that Aston Martin. And Vischer getting it done. The call to stay on slicks has been the right call, and he doesn't have to worry about Fredriksson's 10-second penalty because he's behind him. So now he has to catch up to Hansen, who is quite a ways. Actually, no, Hansen's dangerously close. There's only about, I believe, 4 or 5 seconds between them. So Vischer could pick up another position absolutely free of charge, because Hansen, oh, Hansen's on dries, so Hansen's got a lot of work to do. He's got a couple of laps to pull out a gap that he can work with, so that 10-second penalty is nullified. But I'm not certain if there is going to be enough time to do so. So Sven Vischer was originally looking at 1 position gained post-penalty, but 5.3 back from Hansen is, well, that's going to be another position gain, no problem. We'll see what the gap is like the next time these guys cross the timing line, see if it's gone down. 5.3 at the moment. Keep that number in your head. We are going to be needing it. Ippolito looks like he's got a blue flag to let on through. Thought for a moment that might have been Starkey, but it was not the case. Man, what a race we've had here. Rumbout's still in the lead. A little bit of position change earlier on. Oh, and there's Shop there. Just exiting bottom screen. Looks like a little bit of front end damage on the Porsche. But Hearn got around Rumbout, stayed there for a bit, attempted the undercut, and it didn't quite work out. Rumbout's last lap was a 50.23. Hearn's was a 50.10. So despite being about a 10th quicker, I don't know if it's really going to matter as we do get ready for one final tour of the Temple of Speed. It's Rumbautz who will get us started on that final lap when he comes around the corner, or around the Parabolica. Vischer's gap has gone down. It's 4.7 at the moment to Hansen. Hansen's probably just trying to figure out how can he make this work? How can he keep things going? And one thing I'm surprised to see is we have not seen any further pit stops following this, following the lack of rain. It seems like we've had some very smart decisions get made. And drivers, of course, doing what they can to just nurse those wets back home. I know winter is coming for a lot of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, but it must be like summer for those rubber tires, those that stood out on those treaded wheels. But Rumbautz, a very good job here. Just has a handful of corners to go. Vining still with that fast. It's at 48.36. I don't think anyone's going to get close. And if it is, it's going to have to be this final lap that somebody somewhere picks up the fastest lap, but that is quite the time to beat Rumbautz. Look at how much he's already pulled out from Hearn, despite how close the Aston was earlier. Through the second Lesmo, Rumbautz goes. We'll see what he sees as he heads down towards the Ascari chicane. It's been a fantastic race here for the number 18 Honda, sandwiching Hearn with his pseudo teammate Vining really chucking it over the inside. You can see that dry line. The track is optimum, so just in time for the end of the race. Runs it a little bit wide there, but that doesn't really matter. He's done everything he needs. Hearn cannot catch up. 3.1 seconds is the gap. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Rumbautz here, rounding the final corner. He's rounding Parabolica for the last time this race, really running it out as wide as he can, maybe trying to pick up the fastest lap. And he is going to cross the line in P1. It's Pac-Man on top. He has beaten all the ghosts. A beautiful little flick there. Is it going to make contact with the wall? Yes, it is. Job well done. Daniel Hearn makes it onto the podium. P2 for him. And Chris Vining as well. P3 and fastest lap for him. Dombrowskis, despite being on the wet tire, I think he's nursed that McLaren home beautifully for a very comfortable P4. Klarenberg in P10. Shop down in P18. I believe that's Cairns that just exited screen. It is, yeah, for P13 for him. Ippolito in 11th. Andreas in 12th. And Dombrowskis, there it is, finalizing that P5 finish. Cuthbert out of the final corner. Also for McLaren in P5. It says 4, but that's because Vining has officially left the server. Don't worry. Broadcast controllers got us covered. Martin Hansen, 10-second penalty. 3.7 seconds down to Vischer. Vischer will be picking up this P6. And that'll push Hansen down into P7. Matty Sack will find P8 for himself as he comes out of the final corner. And then Fredrickson, P9. Things are a little bit crazy. And then we just have to wait for Nidzalski, the last driver, around Parabolica. But what a race this has been. We had a lot of action there in the first half. Things tapered off, and even with the rain, drivers doing what they could to hold on. But it is going to be Rumbautz, Hearn, and Vining up top. A great race from all three of them. And what an afternoon, what an evening it has been for all of these drivers here at Monza. A pleasure to see, as always, and a pleasure to cast. I mean, come on, it's always great here with the Simrigs Sprint Series. Rumbautz, a nice little drift there to get things sorted. And as we wait for the game to catch up, I think we'll be good to go. Missouri not making it to the end, unfortunately, following the I believe an incident earlier on in the race. His day ends 13 laps down. Will not cross the line. But we are going to be taking a look at the final results. So overall, it's Rombouts, Hearn, and Vining, your top 3 drivers, all in the pro category. In the Pro-Am, we look at Sombrauskas taking home bragging rights ahead of Vischer and Sack. Klarenberg missing out there, a lap down, unfortunately. And then the amateur class drivers, Starkey, car number 1, 2, 3 for McLaren, will take top step of the podium. It's Phillips and Lucas Sienaker who will join him. Sienaker with that 15-second penalty will not matter. So he'll hold on to P3, shot missing out, lap down. And then for the unrated drivers, despite a 10-second penalty onto Hansen, he will hold on to top of the unrated drivers, Nidzelsky and Frial, 2 and 3 respectively. And of course, the Simrigs safety car, and it's in a division of its own, far too good for anybody to handle. And of course, one last quick thank you over to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you're looking to upgrade your equipment, they've got you covered. Based out of Melbourne, all of Australia and New Zealand is covered with no worries. And if you're outside of those borders, you send them an email. They'll be more than happy to work something out. If you're a Patreon member, of course, you're going to be getting 5% off on your order. Highly suggest you take advantage of that. Sim racing equipment is not cheap by any means. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Europe here tonight at Monza. We're going to be back on schedule with the Nürburgring, a track we are all familiar with and a track I think we all enjoy one way or another. But that is going to do it for us tonight. We'll be back again later on with North America, and of course we have our Kyalami 9-hour coming up in just, I believe, a little bit under 24 hours. It's going to get quite exciting there. A lot of drivers, a lot of teams, a lot of talent, and we're going to be broadcasting it all start to finish right here on the Octane Online Racing YouTube channel. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, I would like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. But until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful, and make sure you break into turn 1.